again, who are you people? I like to unmask people because there's a lot of people when you unmask them, you find somebody completely different. But then there's some people when you unmask them, you find out that they're not wearing a mask at all. And so I like to find out who is real, who is not. And that goes along with the fact that I keep talking about this political game. I keep talking about don't get wrapped up in the political game. That includes not only getting distracted by people who have absolutely no pull, absolutely no power. I was talking about this when I was on VinDog earlier. I'll just kind of bring it up. When I'm going through my news feed and my news wire and checking things out and everything like that, when Biden tripped and he fell over on the stage, for at least a day and a half, no joke, at least a day and a half, my entire news wire was filled with nothing but that. And that's what I'm talking about. That's on purpose because it's filled with not only the mainstream media that's pushing it, but it's also filled with people who have the conservative values where that's what they want to push because that's what they've been told to push. He's unqualified. He's unfit for the position of president. He's an evil guy, which none of that's wrong. It's not wrong. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but they want you so focused on that you get distracted. You know how much stuff that they can get done in a day and a half? But because everybody was so focused on somebody tripping, whatever happened in that day and a half, nobody knows because everybody was so focused on that. That's the game. Now, I'm not saying they told Biden, hey, trip right here. We got to do something. I'm not that stupid. So don't even think that. But never let a good crisis go to waste. And in the case of Biden tripping, that would be a crisis for them to be able to get something across. And so don't get wrapped up in the game and the fact of getting so angry and focused on making fun of people you don't like that are evil. But it's also the fact of don't get caught up in the lies and the theater of people that you are told to like as well. That's one of the big ones. Just like with Trump, he's in the club. So many people got blinded by him because he would say things, but his behind the scenes work, actually he was somebody that was so worshipped that he could say whatever he wanted and people still would defend the guy. They're still defending the guy. But that's what I'm talking about is find out what these people actually are. Find out who these people actually are because words lie. They lie. People lie. They can say whatever they want. Tulsi Gabbard's another one. She's the young global leader, heavy Democrat and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden did a 180. Now she's completely anti-WEF. She's full on conservative. She's all this stuff. And everybody on the right didn't even question it. It's like, oh, she's now saying things that we agree with. So she's obviously on our side. You sure about that? You sure about that? Elon Musk is another one. These people, you got to be careful. And so that's why I talk about this all the time, about the political game. And so I found something quite interesting. And it involves deception everywhere. And keep in mind, when I talk about this stuff, I'm not just talking about government and politicians. I'm also talking about corporate people. I'm talking about churches and pastors. I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about a lot of people. There's a lot of fake people wearing masks out there. There's a lot of controlled opposition out there. So don't be won over by their speech. They lie. But one of the people that I've discussed about this is Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is not who you think he is. A lot of people like to say, well, he talked about God that one time on Joe Rogan's podcast, so he's a Christian. No, he's actually a Gnostic. Jordan Peterson is a Gnostic. He's not Christian. Just because somebody says God and says, oh, I think there is a God, that doesn't make them Christian. He's actually a Gnostic. And so I've talked about Jordan Peterson before. A lot of the stuff he says, if you can get through the fact that of how wordy he is, because he just likes to ramble, it sounds good to conservatives. A lot of the stuff he says sounds good. But we're going to take a look. So something to keep in mind with Jordan Peterson is he just created a group called the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, or ARC, A-R-C, and he deems it the Anti-WEF group. He deems this the counterweight to the WEF's Davos group, but is it really? First thing I noticed right off the bat is it's just like the WEF. You have to be invited. You have to have a certain mindset. You have to believe certain things in order to be a part of it. So they're basically just creating another exclusive club. That's never a good sign. But if we go to their website and we take a look at their description page under the Alliance section, we see right here, with this as the backdrop, ARC has drawn together a unique alliance from around the world covering politics, business, the arts, and culture. Our ambition is to draw on our moral, cultural, economic, and spiritual foundations to imagine a future where empowered citizens take responsibility for bringing flourishing and prosperity to their homes, neighborhoods, and all sectors of society and their nations. Moral, cultural, economic, and this is the big one, spiritual foundations. Not Christian foundations. No, spiritual. Again, he's Gnostic, guys. Spiritual. It's something to keep in mind. So, yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So we're going to kind of go through. We're going to go through their board, because they've got a board of advisors. Their advisory board. That's the word I was looking for. So before we get there, though, first off, Peterson. We've already talked a little bit about him, but he is a member of the CAA. We've talked about this, the Creative Artists Agency. That is the Hollywood agency that's connected to the CIA. So we've already talked about that, and he's also been very outspoken about removing all, I can't say this word, anonymity online. I don't know why I wrote that down. I knew I couldn't say it. But he's been very outspoken about that stuff, and we know he's a part of the CAA, so that's never good. But we also got to take a look at his advisory board. Who has he surrounded himself with? So let's go through this. I'm just going to point out a few. We're not going to go through everybody, because some of these people, I don't know who they are. I did a quick search on most of them, and I couldn't. Yeah, I'm just going to point out a few of them. I want to start with this Agu Irukwu guy. This is the senior pastor of Jesus House for All Nations. Now, I get warning flags right off the bat when I see all nations. That's usually a sign of universalism. When you got Jesus House for All Nations, it's just, we know the construction of the temple, the third temple. They're talking about how it's going to be the worship temple for all nations. You're talking about the one world religion. You're talking about universalism, because it's going to be the place where the beast is going to sit, and everybody will go and worship him. So when I see all nations, I get warning flags. And so if you go to their website, you'll actually find no belief statement on their website, which confirms my warnings. There's no belief system for the Jesus House for All Nations. So that's concerning. There's your spiritual aspect right there. So just wanted to point that out. You don't have Christian values in there. You've got universalism getting pushed in that. So if we keep going down the list, we'll find this Bjorn Lomborg. He was a contributor to the WEF agenda for 4 years. You can see he doesn't have his description there anymore. Maybe he pulled out, I don't know, but I went through under the most popular section is all his articles, and it goes back for 4 years. So he was connected. Don't know if he still is connected right now, but that's never a good sign. That's just never a good sign. Then if we keep going, we'll find Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw. Yeah, we've got another snake in the grass here with Crenshaw, who is financially backed by the BlackRock companies. A lot of oil companies owned by BlackRock donate and support this dude. And he's also a graduate of the WEF's Young Global Leader group from the class of 2019, if you guys don't know. I had to use the Wayback Machine to grab this, but yeah, he's from 2019. Dan Crenshaw, you can see him right there. So yeah, he's also on the board for this ARC. So we've got one world religion dude, universalism religion dude. We've got some dude who was connected to the WEF, which we don't know if he still is or not. Then we've got Dan Crenshaw, which we know the stuff that he does, he is still connected to the WEF. That's without a doubt. Then we've got this guy, Niall Ferguson. Might not recognize the name or anything like that, but this dude is huge on the WEF. This dude has been there for a long time. He is a globalist historian. That's one of his big thing. If you want to look at some of his books, he writes a lot of stuff. I think it's on this list. I wasn't planning on saying it. It's where is it at? I don't see it. Okay, I don't want to take forever to look. Oh, right there. The Pity of War, The House of Rothschild, Empire, Civilization, and Kissinger stuff. So he's a globalist historian. He's been one of the main dudes on the WEF, a mainstay there for a very long time. And so he's on the ARC as well. So if this is supposed to be anti-WEF, that's sure a lot of WEF. I'm just saying. So yeah. Where am I? Get me back on. There we go. So we're seeing a theme here. So they're supposed to be anti-WEF, but yet he's still, a lot of the people on the board are still on the WEF. So there's also a couple people I'm not going to show. There's a couple more to the list. Tony Abbott and John Howard are on the list. You may not recognize them, but they've also been speakers at Davos a few times as well, so they're connected. But there's somebody that I want to point out. And for some reason, my slide is missing again. I think my program is deleting my slides because I lost the slide last week too. And I know I put it on here. Yeah. Oh, well. But one of the guys on the ARC board is a guy by the name of Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, this is a dude that I don't know if people have heard of before, but he announced his run for presidency for this year. Now, Vivek is somebody who he kind of came out of nowhere, just out of nowhere, and became like the poster child for conservatism. Wow, I really cannot say some of these words, guys. But he came out of nowhere, and he's heavily pushing conservative narratives like anti-ESG, DEI. He speaks out all the time against China and all that stuff. But do we really know who this guy is? Because I'm seeing a lot of conservatives that are liking what this guy has to say. So I did a little background check on Vivek here. And first thing I found is he was scrubbed from the class of 2021 Young Global Leaders graduate list. He was scrubbed from it. So if you go to the website and you check it out now, he's not there under the scrubbed category. But yet, if you go back in the archives, you go back in the Wayback Machine and you take a look at the original, there he is. So they intentionally scrubbed him from the graduate list. We know there's a bunch of other people that have been scrubbed too. Putin is one of them. Elon Musk is another. Those guys have also been scrubbed from the list. It's kind of curious how these people just disappear like that. So he's a young global leader. He graduated from 2021. He's also in a long-standing relationship with the Soros group, as he's connected to George's brother, Paul. If you didn't know, George has a brother. Well, had a brother. He actually died in 2015. But Vivek was connected, or is connected, to the Soros family as well. That's not good. So we got a young global leader connected to Soros. But this dude's supposed to be a walking billboard for conservatives. Interesting. He's also spoken out, like I said, about China and the WEF and BlackRock and all this stuff. So he spoke out in an interview where he was slamming the WEF and BlackRock, but also in the same interview, he stated that he wants BlackRock as a shareholder if his big pharma company went public. So he's blasting them, but saying he wants their money as well, talking out two sides of his face. And then, like I said, we talked about China. He's always talking about how horrific China is, and the U.S. needs to completely back away from China, not be involved with China in any way. But yet, he says all that stuff, but his company teams up with China all the time. Vivek Ramaswamy and his launched his Beijing-based biotech player. This morning, Roivant, that's his pharma company, unveiled Sinovant along with CPT, whatever, a Chinese private equity group. So he's teaming up with China. And then you can see his list of subsidiaries for Roivant Sciences. You can see a couple of China groups right there. So he says one thing publicly, but he's doing something behind the scenes. Now, speaking of big pharma, check that out. Roivant, that's his pharmaceutical company, has teamed up with Pfizer. Yep, he works with Pfizer. His company works with Pfizer. Interesting how that works, right? Not to mention, his spin-out group from Roivant called Datavant was looking to create a universal COOF record database. Roivant spin-out Datavant merges with Seox to form 7 billion health data giants. Datavant and the Seox Health have agreed to a merger that will create what they claim to be the largest health data company operating in the U.S. market. Datavant boots up big COOF registry looking to shine a light on it. He wants a giant registry for those with COOF and the vitamin and all of that. Yeah, so that's just some of the stuff I found on this guy. So this is what I'm talking about with don't just listen to the words that these people are saying. Don't just focus in and hone in on things that they say that you like. You have to look at who these people are associated with. You have to look at the people they surround themselves with. You have to look at what their businesses, their companies, their groups, whatever they're a part of, what they're connected to. Because these people will reveal themselves. They will reveal themselves. You just have to be willing. I know it's hard sometimes, but you just have to be willing to let go of people that you thought were who you thought they were. And again, I know that's hard sometimes. But we need to hold on to truth more than just what we want and what we've told ourselves about certain people. So I know, again, this dude has no chance. He has no chance to do it. We know that. But it's just a display of we got to be careful about who we align ourselves with, who we believe in this stuff. We got to pull masks off of these people. We got to understand who these people truly are. Sometimes it's more subtle than not. But this is part of the game. Don't be fooled by the words that they say that match your beliefs. Deception is running much deeper than ever. And we're seeing that right now. We're seeing a lot of people be fooled by faces and names that they were told to like. We got to be careful. People in power and with wealth are looking out for one person. And when these people align themselves, and who these people align themselves with, speak volumes. You look at Jordan Peterson, again, part of the CAA. He's talked about how he doesn't want anybody who's online to have any ounce of being anonymous. Everybody needs to verify who they are in order to be online. And this ARC group that he supposedly created to be the Anti-WEF is filled with nothing but people from the WEF. Controlled opposition, playing a narrative, running theater. We got to be careful. We got to be careful. That's why I talk about don't get wrapped up in the political game. Especially since we know how this ends. We know what's coming. Now, that doesn't mean lay down and die, go sit in a corner and do nothing. That's not what I'm saying. We got to stand for righteousness, but we got to stand for righteousness that we know is going to, it's worth it. You look at the kids. That's one of the main ones. You look at the kids. Stand for the kids. Stand for the gospel. It's just right now, Satan's got a grip on, if Satan's got a grip on the church, you know he's got a grip on anybody in power and political power. And these people are being pulled and manipulated, given scripts, being told what to do. These people aren't stupid. That's one of the biggest things is people keep asking, why do they keep making these stupid decisions? Why are they that stupid? They're not stupid. Because if you put away logic, which I know is sometimes hard to do, if you just put away logic and you try and think in the avenue of what they're trying to bring forth and accomplish, it's anything but stupid. It just makes perfect sense. We're just looking at things logically, and so it doesn't make sense when we do that. But we have to look at what they're trying to accomplish, and everything makes sense. All of it. Even the decisions that people think Biden is making, which he's not. He's just the puppet. But those aren't stupid decisions either. It's just playing exactly how they need them to be played. So yeah, I think it's important that we understand deception is huge right now. That's why Matthew 24, he starts it off with saying, do not be deceived. Because we're going to see deception like we've never seen before. And we know with reprobate minds and the great deception that the Lord's going to bring down, it's only going to get worse from here. That's why it's important that we focus on Scripture. We focus on the Bible. Because in this world where there's narrative and theater and deception on under every rock, around every corner, we don't know what to believe. The only thing that we can hold true and know for a fact is the Bible. That's truth. It will never not be true. It is always true, no matter what. And so we can hang on to that. That's why we hold on to that. That's why we focus on that. And it's the living Word of God. It's the living Word of God because God is truth. Jesus Christ is truth. And that's why we need to focus on Him. That's why we, as watchmen, we do focus on Him. Because He's all that we have. And He's given us the promise that when all of this stuff reaches that climactic point, that we're not going to be here. He gives us that. And the Bible tells us that, which makes it truth, which makes it true. That's why we can hold on to it.